I'm Isla Bennett, and I used to believe my code could change the world. 11 years ago, I stepped into Halcyon Dynamics Seattle office with a refurbished laptop and a fire in my chest. I'd come from a Rust Belt town in western Pennsylvania, where I taught myself Python in a dusty public library because my family couldn't afford Wi-Fi, let alone a computer. Every algorithm I built felt like architecture, lines of logic meant to last. Halcyon's data orchestration platform was my cathedral. I gave it everything: skipped holidays, sleepless sprints, collapsing relationships, and then, on a rainy Tuesday morning, it all vanished. Your position has been terminated. That's all the email said. No name, no explanation, just a sterile subject line and a locked-out company Slack. 11 years of building turned into a ghosted login. I sat in my cramped apartment in Capitol Hill, a spoon halfway to my mouth, eating dry oatmeal from a cracked bowl. My pajamas hadn't been washed in a week, and the only sound was the whir of my ancient air purifier. My laptop sat open on a freelancing site, screaming for young, hungry developers willing to hustle. I clicked one listing. Looking for AI/ML ninja, must relocate, equity only, free snacks? I nearly laughed. Then I saw it. A headline on the tech news site I had open out of habit. Halcyon Air merger collapses over software rights dispute? My breath caught. The $600 million 0-cents deal Halcyon had been gloating about for months, dead. Over something buried in legal red tape. The words core architecture conflict leapt off the screen. I knew what that meant. I was the architecture. A chill moved through me. I'd written that backbone. Every function, every patch. They couldn't erase me. Not really. The next morning, I found an envelope wedged under my door. Heavy, thick, legal. My name typed across the front in sharp font. From Carson and Adler, LLP. Corporate litigation out of San Francisco. I opened it with shaking hands. Dear Miss Bennett, it began like an execution sentence. We represent Ariane Technologies regarding the proposed acquisition of Halcyon Dynamics. We are requesting a meeting to discuss your rights in relation to patent no. US 10,456,789, which lists you as the sole inventor. I blinked. A patent? Mine? I didn't even remember filing one. I opened my laptop, fingers trembling as I entered the number into the USPTO database. The page loaded like molasses on my budget connection. Then, there it was. My name, plain as day. My design, my code, my signature from an HR form buried in onboarding years ago. They thought I'd stay silent. They thought I'd just fade out. But if Halcyon wanted to move forward, they were going to have to come through me. And this time, I set the terms. There it was, Dynamic Cloud Load Optimization Framework. My name, Isla Bennett, listed as the sole inventor. No Halcyon, no co-developers, just me. Nearly 6 years ago, I'd signed a stack of forms at the urging of Dr. Martin Keene, my mentor and former CTO. The kind of guy who used to solve architecture problems on napkins during coffee breaks and wore thrifted blazers like armor. He'd been forced out during Halcyon's pivot, right before the suits took over. Just in case, he said, handing me that manila folder like it was a life raft. You don't wait for a storm to board the windows, Martin muttered that day, glancing over his shoulder like the walls had ears. At the time, I thought he was being dramatic. Now, I realized he'd seen it all coming. My mind darted back to the moment he appeared in my cubicle, limping from a hiking injury he never let heal. ID badge clipped to his belt loop because he claimed lanyards were for bureaucrats. He tossed the folder onto my desk and said, "You're filing this patent yourself." "Martin, that's the legal team's job," I protested. "I sent the specs over weeks ago. They'll put it through." "No, they'll bury it," he said, locking eyes with me. "File it under a team, bear your name, and pin it to Mason's chest when the deal goes public." I hesitated. I was just a senior dev, not a founder, not a C-level player. "They'll reject it," I told him. "Then they'll forget," he replied, which is exactly what we want. So I did it. Filled out the paperwork late one Friday night, used my home address, listed myself as the sole creator, attached the diagrams Martin helped polish. Then I tucked it away and went back to debugging integration pipelines for the next 5 years, forgetting that tiny act of rebellion. Until now. Back in my apartment, I paced the hardwood floors, each creak echoing louder than the last. My cat Pixel pawed at the thick envelope from Carson and Adler LLP like it was a mouse toy. My brain spun as I stared again at the patent page. This wasn't just protection, this was leverage. Martin didn't just save my code, he gave me a fuse, and Halcyon had just lit it. They'd fired me thinking they were clearing the path for a smooth acquisition, but instead they'd tripped a wire they didn't even know was there. And now Arion, the would-be buyer, knew it too. That night, I didn't sleep. I scribbled notes across old Post-its, traced system flows on the back of takeout menus, and cross-checked every API call from the original framework. I wanted to remember it all. Every line of code they'd tried to erase. Every kernel of the system they thought they owned. At 3:17 a.m., I stopped and stared at the glowing patent ID on my screen. This wasn't just my work. This was my proof. And come morning, when I walked into that meeting with Arion's legal team, Halcyon wouldn't just see the girl they fired. They'd see the woman who owned the system their future depended on. And this time, I wouldn't be writing anyone else's legacy. Just my own. If you've ever been underestimated, betrayed, or quietly building something powerful, hit subscribe and follow Isla's journey, because the next move in this high-stakes game is hers. He'd handed me a weapon. Halcyon had cut me loose to clear the runway for their $600 million 0 cents merger, not knowing I held the patent propping up their entire infrastructure. The email stopped. The Slack access vanished. But my silence? That was temporary. I needed Martin Keene. At 7:02 a.m., my phone lit up. A 415 area code. San Francisco. My stomach dropped. Halcyon HQ? I let it ring until it went to voicemail. The ping made me jump. Isla, it's Mason, the voice slid out, oily and faux-friendly. Mason Caldwell, Halcyon's CEO. A man who could sell you a dream while stealing your house keys. Hate how things ended. Let's reconnect. Water under the bridge, right? He chuckled awkwardly. There's been some confusion. An old doc popped up. Something about a patent. You know, that cloud balancing thing you helped with? Helped? I wrote every damn line of that system while Mason was off sipping scotch with Arion's board. I didn't call back. Instead, I texted the last number Martin ever gave me. Buried in a goodbye email, unread by most, but saved by me. Martin, it's Isla. That patent you pushed me to file? It's Liv. Halcyon wants it. Call me. He called at 1:53 a.m. sharp. Took him long enough, he rasped, that familiar gravel voice, weathered and calm. They fired you before the merger, didn't they? 2 weeks before, I whispered, still curled on the couch. No reason? None. Classic, he spat. They thought they could wipe the slate. But that patent? It's the backbone, Isla. The whole house runs on it. Then he gave me a name, Lydia Alvarez, IP law specialist. Reputation for turning corporate bullies into puddles. I dialed immediately. Miss Alvarez? I'm Isla Bennett. I think I own something Halcyon wants to bury. Her laugh was cool steel. Oh, sweetheart, you've got them by the throat. She told me to forward everything. The certified letter, Mason's voicemail, the original patent docs. At noon, another envelope slid through my mail slot, this time from Halcyon's HR department. Their tone was colder. Vague claims about proprietary materials on my laptop, thin threats masked as reminders. I sent it to Lydia. They're bluffing, she said. Desperate. Let's make them sweat. For the first time since I got that termination email, I didn't feel small. I didn't feel replaceable. I felt loaded. Lydia laid out the strategy fast. Halcyon was grasping, hoping to scare me into signing over the patent before their merger completely collapsed, but it was already too late. Arian doesn't care about Halcyon anymore, she said. They want you. They want the real inventor, and they want to deal direct. My mind reeled. Yesterday I was just another out-of-work developer in threadbare sweats and overdue bills. Today, I was the bottleneck. The leverage. The key. I called Martin again, needing his clarity, his calm under pressure. What do I do, Martin? They're offering severance, apologies, even a job. His voice came through like steel wrapped in static. You don't negotiate with snakes, Isla. You strike. They tossed you. After you built their kingdom, now you hold the deed to the throne. He was right. I'd coded that framework through migraines, through my mother's chemotherapy, through Mason Caldwell's hollow praise and boardroom smiles. I had built their future, while quietly surviving my own storms. They didn't deserve my mercy. Lydia scheduled a meeting with Arian for the following week, warning me to keep my head down until then. Let Halcyon spiral, she said. They'll overplay their hand. She was right. 3 days later, my phone buzzed with a name I hadn't seen in over a year. Priya. We'd shared countless late nights debugging disaster before she moved into middle management. Her voice shook. Isla asked me to reach out. He wants to resolve things, quietly. I closed my eyes, anger and sorrow mixing like static in my chest. They were using her now? Like they used me? Tell Mason to speak to my lawyer, I said, my tone steady. And Priya, don't let them use you the way they used me. I ended the call with hands that trembled, not from fear, but from power finally reclaimed. That night, Lydia forwarded me a message from Arian's legal team. They were ready to negotiate directly. No middleman, no Halcyon, just me. The boardroom at Arian's downtown Seattle office gleamed with polished glass and stainless steel, minimalism masking billions in movement. I walked in wearing the same black blazer I used to wear on code demo days. Mason Caldwell was already seated across the table, sweat darkening the edge of his collar despite his carefully curated posture. 2 of his attorneys flanked him, all smug and silent. Lydia sat beside me, calm as fire contained in a bottle. Mason offered me his rehearsed grin, the one that earned him standing ovations at tech summits and TEDx events. Isla, great to see you. Let's clear this up. No drama, just progress. I didn't speak. Let him fill the silence with his nervous optimism. He launched into nostalgia. How I was always so loyal, so relentless. How they regretted, how things unfolded. He nudged a contract across the glass. A payout, a consultant title, credit in the press release. All the trimmings of being tolerated, not valued. Let's fix this patent mix-up, he said. Lydia didn't blink. Mix-up? You mean the patent Miss Bennett owns outright? I leaned forward, every word razor-sharp and calm. I built your platform, Mason. Every line of code, every 2 a.m. hotfix, while you were test driving your next luxury car. You fired me with a blank email. No subject, no name, no decency. And now? Your deal's dead because you never even knew what you had. I pulled out my own document, a notice of exclusive talks with Arian. Mason stared, the blood draining from his face. I smiled, just enough to be polite. This isn't a negotiation, Mason. It's a handover. And I'm not the one sweating. They're licensing the patent from me. You're not in the deal. Mason's face turned the color of old printer paper. His lawyers looked like someone had pulled the plug on their retainer. Isla, wait, he started. I stood, Lydia already gathering our things. Good luck with your board, I said coolly. I hear they're not thrilled. We walked out, leaving behind a silence so dense it could shatter glass. I didn't need his remorse. I had his collapse. My new office at Arian Technologies overlooks Elliott Bay, the Seattle skyline gleaming like the future, finally said my name. The brushed steel plate on my door reads, Isla Bennett, Chief IP Strategist. No junior, no interim, no asterisk. Just me. 3 days ago, Ariane closed the deal. They bought the patent outright. Then, they handed me a job offer with a number so staggering I stared at it for 5 minutes before I even smiled. The signing bonus alone paid off my mom's medical debt, my undergrad loans, and left room for a down payment on a condo with real sunlight. I'm not budgeting oatmeal anymore. Meanwhile, Halcyon Dynamics is unraveling. TechCrunch, VentureWire, even the Journal are collapsed. Lawsuits pending. CEO Mason Caldwell under investigation for corporate negligence. His empire's bleeding out in headlines. I got a voicemail from him. 48 seconds of regret I never hit play on. I forwarded it to Martin with a note. Me one. He sent back a gif of a wolf howling at the moon. I laughed. Then I deleted it all. Mason's voice holds no weight here, because his world is ash, and I lit the match. Now I stand in my corner office, coffee in hand, not gas station grounds or instant mix, real beans, roasted by a local co-op run by women in tech. A quiet luxury I'd once thought frivolous. Now it's fuel. I don't feel like a queen on a throne. I don't feel like a destroyer. I feel free. Free from the grind that swallowed my 20s. Free from watching someone else get credit for the code I wrote through migraines and heartbreak. Free from begging to be seen. I'm not the girl in oversized sweatpants sobbing over broken builds anymore. I'm the woman who wrote the backbone of Halcyon's system and then walked away with its soul. Now I build something different, not just cleaner code, but a cleaner future. Pinnacle, or what's left of it, can drown in their stock options, their boardroom infighting, their damage control press tours. I have a future, and it looks nothing like their corner-cutting vision of progress. Every morning I walk into my new office, and it still stuns me. The quiet hum of a space that feels earned, the kind of calm you don't notice until you've lived in chaos. It's not just a job. It's a life I never let myself imagine when I was debugging code with tears in my eyes and stale cereal in my mug. Sometimes I think about my old cubicle at Halcyon, the flickering fluorescent light, the peeling motivational poster, Mason's voice floating overhead, making promises he never intended to keep. That version of me, young, determined, afraid, still lives somewhere in my bones. But she's not driving anymore. Last week I found an old photo tucked in a box I hadn't unpacked. A company holiday picture from my first year at Halcyon. I'm in the back, half shuffle and half smile, like I still believed we were building something that mattered. Martine's in the shot too, ID badge on his shoe like always, smirking like he knew how it would all unfold. He saw the storm coming, and he handed me the umbrella. Now I'm building again. At Ariane, yes, but more than that. A future where engineers like me don't get erased. Where brilliant minds aren't tossed aside to make way for someone's golf buddy. It's slower, but it's mine. Halcyon's headlines are fading. Mason's probably somewhere crafting his next pitch deck. I don't care. I'm not angry anymore. I'm done. I have my coffee, my cat Pixel sleeping in a sunbeam, and a future that rose from the fire they tried to leave me in. That's enough. To everyone who's followed this story, thank you. You walked with me through betrayal, into battle, and into a sunrise we earned. If my journey meant something to you, hit subscribe. Stay with us. We're sharing stories of grit, justice, and the long game. Because every keystroke, every quiet fight can build something no one saw coming. I'll see you at the next chapter.